Texting signs he's not interested. In this video, I'm gonna share the signs that a guy is just stringing you along and that he doesn't actually like you. It's Sabrina, your personal love advisor from A New Mode, the channel where we show you how love actually works. So I have another video on signs he doesn't like you, but I wanted to focus specifically on texts and the way a man behaves over text when he doesn't like you, because texting is such a big part of courtship and of a relationship, and a lot can get lost in translation. It's very easy to get confused about how a guy feels about you based on his texting behavior because there is so much more room to interpret things. And what we tend to do is we tend to interpret things in a way that confirms how we want things to be. It's called confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is a tendency to interpret evidence as confirming something that you already believe. I would also expand it to include that it's confirming something that you want to be a reality. So basically, you like this guy and you want him to like you. So you kind of interpret his texting behavior in a way that suits how you want things to be, even if that's not the reality of the situation. And even if he's not acting like he likes you and you kind of sense that, it's very easy to make excuses for it and say, oh, it's just because he's bad at texting, it's just because there's so much else going on. And so you kind of stick with it and you keep investing into the relationship, even though you don't really know where he stands. Or maybe deep down you do know where he stands, you just don't want to believe it. The more you invest in someone and the more you put energy into the relationship with him, the more you'll come to care about him. And the more heartbroken you'll be if it turns out that he just doesn't feel the same way about you. So that's why I'm gonna break down exactly how to know that he isn't really interested in you based on his texting behaviors. So make sure you watch this video all the way until the end. Real quick, if you like this video and you find it helpful, please give it a like, subscribe to my channel for more relationship advice, and leave a comment if you have any questions, any feedback. I love hearing from you guys. I try to answer everyone. Okay, let's get into it. Number one, you are always initiating. You are literally always starting the conversation. Now, where this gets confusing is that he always replies, and he's really nice when he replies. He's really friendly, he engages with you, but when the conversation is over, it's just over. And then you're the one that picks things up again. This is a really big sign that he doesn't like you. Okay, so him responding to you and being all polite and nice is just passive reciprocation. And that is an area where a lot of women get stuck because they're like, well, he's being really nice. If he didn't like me, wouldn't he just ignore me? Or wouldn't he just be mean? Like, he's being really, really nice. The fact that he's being pleasant to you when you're reaching out to him doesn't really mean anything. Maybe he just doesn't want to hurt your feelings. Maybe he does kind of like you a little bit. Maybe it's a nice boost to his ego to hear from you. So he likes engaging in the pleasantries. But the fact is, when a guy likes you, he's not just passively sitting back waiting for you to reach out to him. He's taking initiative. So now another area where women get stuck with this is she'll think, well, that's just the pattern of behavior because he's just so used to me always being the one to text him. So he'll probably think if I stop texting him that I lost interest. Part one, no, that's not what he's gonna think. If anything, that's gonna get him more intrigued by you and more interested. And part two, he's not just gonna say, oh, she's not texting me. Okay, I guess I'll just never text her and just never hear from her again. No, he most likely will reach out to you. So if you are doing all the work here, you're starting all the conversations, I would say pull back a little bit. Give it a few days and see what happens. See if you hear from him. If you don't hear from him, then that tells you everything that you need to know. Number two, you're doing all the talking. Scroll through your text interactions with him and look at what you see. Do you see huge paragraph bubbles where you're talking punctuated by a sentence here or a question there or an LOL here and there? Look at how much you're saying versus how much he's saying. If you're the one doing all the talking here, it's kind of a strong sign that he's not so interested in you. Look at if you're the only one talking, if you're the only one sharing, if you're the only one moving the conversation along. If that's the case, it's a sign that he's probably not that interested in you. And again, my advice is like the previous point. You should just pull back a little bit and see what happens. Maybe he has gotten used to just being very passive in this relationship, but if he likes you and feels you kind of pulling back a little bit, he'll step it up real quick. Number three, he doesn't show any interest in you. A big way to notice this is if he's just not asking you any questions about yourself. He really does not seem interested in learning about you, learning about your life, because here's the thing, when a guy is interested in you, he shows an interest in you. He wants to learn about you. So if he's not doing that, then it's a strong sign he's just not interested. Maybe he just enjoys the texting banter. And that's another thing to be mindful of. What are you guys talking about? What are your conversations like? Is it just flirty banter? Is it just surface level? Or are you really sharing? as in both of you sharing, not just you talking at him and him just, saying things like, oh, really? No way. Wow, that's so cool. The question to ask yourself is, does he get real and raw and honest with you? Number 4, he's inconsistent. So he might go days texting you nonstop and then he vanishes for a week. What's the one thing that I always say to you guys about how to know how a guy feels about you? I tell you that he's consistent. He consistently reaches out to you. He's a consistent presence in your life. When a guy is sending mixed signals or being hot and cold or being wishy-washy or whatever you want to call it, that is a strong sign that maybe he likes you, he just doesn't like you enough. Because when a guy truly likes you, he's there. He is a presence. He's not gonna leave that open space for some other guy to swoop in and take you away. It just doesn't make sense. So if that's what you have, maybe, he's texting, and then he just like vanishes without a trace and doesn't even give you any legitimate or any even illegitimate reason for why. It's just a sign that he likes you-ish. He doesn't really like you. Number 5, he puts no effort into his texts. Does he just text you, hey, or even worse, does he text you, you up? Those are strong indicators that he's not interested in you in a significant way. Again, the reason it gets confusing is because he's interested in you a little bit, he likes you a little bit, he just doesn't like you enough to want to take things in a direction that goes beyond just texting and flirting over text. So if a guy likes you, he's gonna wanna impress you. That is one of the top signs that a guy likes a girl, he wants to impress her. If his texts are just, hey, what's up? Nothing interesting, nothing funny. He really has nothing to say. He just kind of like shoots you a text and then you're kind of the one, doing all the work. That's a strong sign. He does not like you. Number 6, he doesn't text, but he watches your Instagram stories. My goodness, the amount of questions I get about this. That's the only reason I'm including this on this list. I wouldn't have even thought to include this, but I am because I get asked about it so often. I get so many questions saying, I texted him, he didn't answer me, but he's watching my stories on Instagram. He liked my pictures. That means nothing. Maybe he's just bored. Maybe he's just curious. That is not a meaningful indication of interest whatsoever. And think about it from a logical perspective. Does it make any logical sense that he would be ignoring your text, but he's like watching you on Instagram and he's liking your pictures as a way of showing you that he likes you? That just doesn't make any sense. If he likes you, he's gonna text you. If he's just watching your stories or liking, maybe that's his way of still being like a presence in your life by, shooting these little breadcrumbs here and there. But it's meaningless. It's completely meaningless. So if that's what a guy's doing, then seriously forget him because that is not a sign of interest whatsoever. Number 7, he only texts. If all you have is a texting relationship, then you have nothing. Texting needs to be a means to an end. It needs to be working towards getting somewhere. The texting isn't an end in and of itself. So texting should lead to FaceTiming or Skyping or meeting up in person or talking on the phone. If all you're doing is texting and it's been going on for weeks and weeks or months and months, who even knows, sometimes years and years, that's just a sign that he enjoys talking to you, but he doesn't really want anything else. He just kind of likes maybe the stroke to his ego that he gets from talking to you. Maybe he's lonely. Maybe he hasn't found a girl that he actually likes and wants to be in a relationship with. Either way, you should get out of this situation. You really don't need a pen pal. Number 8, he only texts you when he's bored or he's buzzed. If you only hear from him when he's out and drinking with his friends and maybe wants you to come over after, or if he's bored and just sends you something like, hey, what are you doing? That's another strong sign that he's just not that interested in you, because if he's interested in you, he'll want to include you in more of his life. He's not just gonna reach out to you when he wants to get his needs met. His needs being either physical needs or his need to just be entertained because he can't be bothered to entertain himself right now. So if all he wants from you is a hookup or to be entertained or for you to stroke his ego, then just forget this guy because he is not into you. Number 9, you feel it in your gut. The reason you're watching this video is because you kind of feel it in your gut that he doesn't like you. You just don't want to be right about it. So you're hoping that I'm going to say something in this video and then you're going to realize, oh, he really does like me. All that other stuff didn't mean anything. That's what you're hoping for here. As we're getting to the conclusion of this video, you're probably feeling really disappointed. Feeling disappointed because I've probably confirmed what you already feel. that he doesn't like you. He's not acting like a guy who likes a girl. You don't want it to be true. That's why you're looking for signs that you're wrong. You're hoping that you're wrong. But our guts are usually right. Our guts are usually pretty spot on about what's going on. If it doesn't feel good, if you feel like you're chasing, if you feel like you're just grasping at straws here, it's because you're not really holding on to anything real, because you don't have anything with this guy, because he's not seriously investing in you. Because if he liked you, you would know it. Which brings me to point number 10. When a guy likes you, it's obvious. I wanted to end this list with my main mantra, which is when a guy likes you, it's obvious, because that's all you really need to know. The only question you need to ask yourself if you're wondering, how does he feel about me? Does he like me? Is it obvious or not? If you have to ask, you already know the answer. Guys aren't confusing or wishy-washy with girls they actually like. Guys only behave this way with girls that they like a little bit. He likes having you around. He's attracted to you. He enjoys you. He likes talking to you. He likes flirting with you. That feels good to him, but he doesn't like you. Because if he liked you, he would do something about it, and it would be so clear and obvious, and you wouldn't be watching this video. Not that I'm not happy to have you here. I'm glad you're here, glad you're part of the family. Subscribe, give this a like, but you know what I'm saying here. You know what's going on. You just don't want to admit it because you like him. But I have some good news. There are billions of men in this world. You can find another one. You can find one who actually does like you. If you want to put this to the test and really figure out where you stand, stop texting him for a few days and see what happens. There is no better indicator of how a man feels about you than the way he behaves when he feels like he may have lost you. So if you're not sure, does he like me, does he not like me, let him think, pull back a little bit. Pull your attention back a little bit and see how he behaves. If you just never hear from him again, then you know. If all of a sudden he steps up and he's really putting in an effort and he's really, bringing his A game, then he does like you. Maybe he was just acting a little too lazy because you were doing a little too much of the work. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it helpful. I hope it didn't make you sad, and maybe it may have made you realize that this guy doesn't like you, he's not on the same page as you, but that's a good thing because that means you are now mentally free to move on to someone who does like you the way that you like him. So give me a like, subscribe to this channel if you enjoyed. Make sure to sign up for our newsletter. Eric is the co-founder of A New Mode. He doesn't appear on these videos. Maybe someday we'll get him to come on, but he does write amazing articles for our newsletter. So he and I both write articles for the newsletter. You'll get daily relationship wisdom from the two of us. It's really cool because it's alternating perspectives of a man's perspective, woman's perspective. We share a lot of our personal stories. So sign up at anewmode.com/subscribe. So I hope to see you there. Follow me on Instagram at anewmode, and I will see you guys in the next video.